Hello, jet setters. I'm Jeb Brooks with greenergrass.com. I am more excited today than I've been probably since I flew with Emirates in their first class fully enclosed suite. Today I'm in Frankfurt, I'm on my way to New York, and I'm flying with Singapore. This is a fifth Freedom flight. It's on an A380, only the fourth time I've been on an A380, and I'm flying in their suites class. That's their first class. I cannot wait for this flight. I'm gonna go get checked in and get this thing started as quickly as possible. Let's get going.
I was so excited about this flight. I'd arrived before check-in had even begun. That meant once it was opened, I was through in no time. The highlight of my long walk through the Frankfurt airport, though? Definitely the world's most iconic departures board. But I had a lounge to check out. Singapore Suites passengers have access to the Lufthansa Senator Lounge, which is also available to Lufthansa and Swiss First Class passengers, who I think would be better off in the Lufthansa First Class terminal, but anyway. You can also get in if you're a Star Alliance First Class ticket holder, a Hans Circle member, or a Star Alliance Gold Card holder. Now, this lounge was incredible. It offered more than enough seating at this earlier hour, copious amounts of delicious food, an extensive bar, and my favorite, stunning views of the ramp action. If you like travel and aviation, click the subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you can be among the first to know when I publish a new video.
That was great, but let's head to the gate.
I arrived at our gate in time to make my way through the large crowd to catch a glimpse of the Airbus A380 that would take us to New York. Passengers flying from Singapore are required to deplane at this interim stop so the aircraft can go through a security check. It's also cleaned, which took a bit of extra time today and resulted in delayed boarding. That wasn't the first delay we'd faced today. When it was finally time to get on board, I could barely contain myself. It took a lot of effort to walk and not run down the jet bridge. As you may know, there's a more modern version of this cabin flying today, and I'm looking forward to trying it sometime soon. Singapore hasn't added it to this route just yet. In that arrangement, there are 6 suites located upstairs. In this older setup, there are 12 of them on the main deck. The suite itself is spacious, but if I'm honest, it's beginning to show its age compared to some more modern suites. Singapore offered the first enclosed space like this, and it's impossible not to be impressed, despite the fact that it's 12 years old. If you could dream it, this suite has it. From plugs to storage to seat adjustments, everything is right here and easily accessible.
First and foremost, allow me to apologize for the delay to departure this morning from here. This is as a result of the local security agency conducting checks and audits on the pre-flight statement.
Flight attendants presented everything from newspapers to pajamas, amenity kits, eye shades, slippers, even champagne.
Wow.
One of the best parts of flying on an A380 is just how quiet they are. A large part of why are these windows. They're a bit like looking through a washing machine, but the trade-off is worth it as far as I'm concerned. I went ahead and tested out these headphones. As much as I love my Bose QC20s, these were so impressive. I wore them the whole flight. Now, the in-flight entertainment system was very nice. There's plenty of options. The screen is clear and bright, and it's all controlled by a remote control. Due to the size of the suite, the screen did seem just a bit far away.
There's a bit of a delay because the air bridge upstairs is stuck to the plane. Apparently there's some power issue.
To kill time on this delay, which in the end turned into about 90 minutes, the flight attendants brought around warm nuts.
So the jet bridge is still stuck, and that means we've lost our slot time. So flights across the Atlantic are slotted, meaning you have a defined time at which you can fly, and we're still here on the ground, so that's kind of too bad, isn't it? But It's all the better because now I've moved on to the crew.
It would be impossible for me to overstate the gratitude I feel for having the opportunity to experience this level of luxury. There's little I love more than commercial aviation, and getting a chance to see something like this is beyond special. That said, this video is a review. Please don't mistake any criticism for a lack of gratitude. I'm just trying to help you decide whether this is something you think is worth trying for yourself.
And we're off. If you're going to be delayed, I sure am grateful that it was in here.
Shortly after takeoff, flight attendants closed up the suite, I got comfortable, and pulled out the tray table. One of my favorite parts of flying first class is the ability to eat and work at the same time, thanks to massive tray tables like this. The amenity kit included many useful lotions, and interestingly, a candle. Breakfast began with fruit, which was followed by muesli. The highlight were these prawns. First class passengers received 100 megabytes of internet, which I found to be fast and reliable. Because of that limited capacity, I only used it to check email. The flight was on a Thursday, after all. But then, I decided to take a walk around the Super Jumbo jet. It was interesting to see how each cabin took on a life of its own depending on how many windows were open. Unfortunately, first class was, by far, the darkest. When I returned, the flight attendants had turned my suite into a bed. Unlike the newer cabin, this suite can be a seat or a bed. It doesn't offer both. I can't wait to try that new cabin, which provides a seat and a separate bed. Speaking of it, it was plenty long enough. I'm 5 feet 11 inches tall, or about 180 centimeters, and no problem. It was also wide enough for my American body to feel comfortable. About halfway through the flight, I asked for a snack. I faced a dilemma. They brought chips and nuts. I decided to go for both. A quick word about this crew. They were so incredibly attentive. I've flown with Singapore a few times in the past, and I've yet to have anything other than an incredible experience with the Singapore crew. They're so eager to please and professional. Soon, though, it was time for lunch. Singapore offers a program they call Book the Cook, which allows passengers to pre-select a meal. I didn't do that. Instead, I chose to risk it, and it wasn't much of a risk, just to see what they had on offer, and I'm glad I did. Everything was delicious, but the main course, lamb, was some of the best I've ever had on land, sea, or in the air. I rate my international first and business class trips on an admittedly subjective and biased scale I jokingly call the JebScore. I'm comparing this flight to other similar international first class flights. I rate 5 elements of a trip. I look at the lounge, the seat, the in-flight entertainment, the food, and the service. Let's take a look at how Singapore did. First, the lounge. Now, it was not a first-class lounge like you'd experience if you were flying this airline out of their home base or if you were flying Lufthansa First out of Frankfurt, but it was nearly as nice. The food may have been from a buffet, but it was very good. Plus, I didn't want to spoil my appetite for the flight. This lounge earns 4 out of 5 stars. The seat was spectacular. Sure, it's not as luxurious as their new one, but it sure is impressive. And if they didn't have the new one, it would be 5 stars. But since they do, I'm going with 4 here. I think the new seat is just... that's the 5-star seat. Anyway, the in-flight entertainment was great. I wish the screen was larger or closer, but that's barely a complaint, since it's really about the massive size of this space. The moving maps were nice, and there were lots of choices. This IFE earns 4 stars out of a possible 5. The food? Well, let me put it this way. People often ask me, who has the best food in the sky? I now have a definitive answer. Singapore First Class. I was definitely impressed with Emirates and Etihad's first class offerings, but this was a step above. From presentation to flavor and everything in between, this was 5-star first class food. Finally, the service. Singapore cabin crew are some of the best in the air. They're attentive and eager to please without being overbearing or uncomfortable. I've been having a string of great experiences with flight attendants, but this crew were excellent. In a way, I'm sorry I've committed to keeping the rating at only 5 stars because they were truly amazing. So, 5 stars for them. That brings Singapore to 22 stars out of a possible 25. But the real question is this: what do you think? Leave a comment about your thoughts on this 8-hour flight from Frankfurt to JFK, and, as always,
Between now and the next time, see you in the sky.